Thanks to my Ko-fi supporters that make these videos possible. You can also get a deck review on my weekly Tuesday and Sunday streams. It's the best way to support the channel.
Hello everyone. I used to run a Tekethal charge counter artifact combo deck. It was fun to move counters around and have a giant astral cornucopia that I would tap and untap furiously to produce hundreds of mana at a time, to either infect out the table or make them draw their entire deck with Blue Sun Zenith. Recently though, I've been craving a new spin on a blue artifact deck, something that had a lot more of my iconic elk synergy value mid-rangey flair. So with great sadness, I decided to retire Tekethal and try my hand at making something truly unhinged. You know what else is truly unhinged? Not yet owning any Void Monster merch. Not gonna beat around the bush here, everyone. This is your last chance to pick up any merch from Void Monster that you may have missed out from this legendary TCG apparel company. Counterspell, Dark Ritual, Giant Growth, Lightning Bolt, Swords to Plowshares, you name it. This shop has it for the next week. All art is painted and designed by the legendary artist Forrest ML, and it's top quality stuff. Highest quality playmats and t-shirts money can buy. I swear by this company. This drop, there's also free shipping for all US orders over $100. Thank you so much Void Monster for sponsoring this video. When starting a new deck, I of course love to start with what I'm interested in including in the 99 over just picking a commander to build around. I decided here that I definitely wanted Transit Mage to shine here as my main pet card value engine of choice. For those that don't know what I mean, Transit Mage can grab any 4 or 5 mana value artifact. And a perfect match with him is the card Conjurer's Closet, which allows you on each of your end steps to exile the mage and return it to do it all over again. This being decided, of course, was a serious commitment out of the gate. The deck needed a large amount of artifacts at these mana values to find with the mage. There was a more subtle problem with this engine too that had to be overcome though. The artifact would only be put into my hand on my end step, which is awkward when it's a synergy piece you want to jam right away. So, naturally, the first decision for artifacts in this deck was, after the closet itself, Vidalcan Orrery. No offense to Josh Lee Kwai, but the card is definitely not the best flash enabler you could be running in blue, but the upside over Leyline of Anticipation here is that it can be tutored by the mage. While not being tutorable, I also opted to include Shimmermere and Liberator Urza's Battlethopter as efficient early game artifact plays that can then enable flash plays later. I'm after all not running wizard cycling or anything for the Transit Mage, so it's 100% possible I don't draw it during a game, and I wanted to consistently have some flash for some freaky things we can get into now. You see, when you make these clunky 4 to 5 expensive mana value plays instant speed, it allows you a lot of flexibility to run some silly cards while holding up strong blue interaction. If no one does anything threatening, you can just deploy the Clunkinator to keep your freak tempo going. The first of these I decided to run was Monkey Cage. It's awful, and I love it. Imagining my friend Jared slamming his Chisgoira down, and I go, hold up, and in response I don't counter it, I just make 9 monkeys for 5 mana, is something I can't afford to pass up. In a similar but more interactive vein, I can fog a giant hasty monster instead, with the help of flashing out a Mirror of Life Trapping. It was about now that I got a really good idea of who should be leading this deck. Drafna, founder of Lot Nam. I could bounce the Monkey Cage in response to its trigger to use it again while still getting the monkeys. Even more grossly, though, he works with that Mirror of Life Trapping as well. Let me pose you a thought experiment. You cast your commander. In response, with Liberator on the board, I flash out Mirror of Life Trapping with Drafna in play. Do you exile your commander under the mirror? Of course not. I could use Drafna to bounce it back to my hand, and then your commander is permanently exiled. Oh wait, this low-key applies to any creature bomb, doesn't it? Suddenly, good creatures are banned. To help make this synergy more feasible, since it involves picking up and casting artifacts repeatedly, I opted to run some cost reducers like Ethereum Sculptor and Foundry Inspector, alongside clones like Phyrexian Metamorph, Machine God's Effigy, Rider of Application, and Sculpting Steel. 2 of those, by the way, are tutorable by the Transit Mage. I won't mention that anymore when it comes up, but it's important to keep track of for this deck moving forward. Anyway, back onto the topic of cards I'm running to be funny flash plays. Fall's Floor can be a board wipe and a stacks piece against the right deck that packs a lot of haste enabling or actual factual haste creatures. Relic of Progenitus becomes a lot less telegraphed. The Stasis Coffin becomes like an actual super fog that can stifle a giant lethal strike they maybe can't replicate. Metalwork Colossus will often be a 0 mana 10/10 blocker. And Aeon Engine's tapped clause, much like False Floor, is a lot easier to get around. Wait, it's now I realized. False Floor exiles itself, as does Aeon Engine, Relic of Progenitus, the Stasis Coffin. What if I ran Mirror of Fate and did some really stupid stuff, recurring artifacts that were never meant to be recurred? Mirror of Fate already has incredible synergy with Draftnet, being able to clone it and mimic Doomsday in a way. For 8 mana, you get to exile your whole library, and then you crack the token copy and pick any exiled cards you want and make a god library. That's it at its most inefficient. With Esoteric Duplicator or Sculpting Steel, you can do it in a lot more tempo-efficient ways, especially with flashing it in before your turn. Besides, hopefully we didn't forget this is an artifact deck. Let's talk about mana for a second before going back into what the mirror allows us to do. The most explosive mana engine in the deck is Sol Ring, but that's boring. So let's talk about the second best one, the Eternity Elevator. Station 20, bare minimum. How are we doing that? Metalwork Colossus. In this deck, she's often free, and you can untap her for 2 mana by using Draftnet to pick her up and recast her. From there, untap the Elevator with the Manifold Key. I will have my Metalwork Colossus ride the Eternity Elevator 8 more times, playing my Sculpting Steel on the Manifold Key, activate it to untap the Elevator, and have at least 100 mana to start exploding the table. The deck also runs the Eternity Elevator's little brother, too, in the form of Thran Dynamo, which, of course, has some crazy mana generation lines, with it being able to be copied the same turn you play it alongside a Phyrexian Metamorph, or the previously mentioned Sculpting Steel. The deck also runs the standard suite of 2 mana rocks in addition to Uthros, which can be tutored by the deck's Expedition map or Teleria West. Uthros here is not only a Tolarian Academy, but it also has a funny combo with False Floor from earlier, allowing me to tap my whole board and then nuke all your untapped creatures. Anyway, back to talking about Mirror of Fate now that I have proved that the deck can make enough mana to support it. The strongest thing to do is to activate it twice, but it can also be utilized not only alongside the previously mentioned self-exiling artifacts, but also alongside hating my own graveyard. I of course run Relic of Progenitus to do this, but I also decided to run Logic Knot too, to delve away my yard for the mirror in addition to being a counterspell. I also decided to add another card to the self-exile package of cards, the Dominion Bracelet, which when paired with Metalwork Colossus or a Construct allows me to, for cheap, control another player's turn. So, what is the strongest line with the mirror? What does all of this deck combine into? Well, I use Mirror of Fate twice to stack my library to be Mystic Forge, Eternity Elevator, Metalwork Colossus, Manifold Key, Aeon Engine, Voltaic Construct, and Scour for Scrap. From there, you cast your whole library except for the Scour of the Scrap using the Metalwork Colossus Mana Trick and the Mystic Forge. Then you untap Aeon Engine with Voltaic Construct and make it so after your opponent's next turn, the turn passes right back to you. From there, you draw Scour for Scrap for turn and perform the mirror loop again, getting Aeon Engine, Sculpting Steel, or Phyrexian Metamorph, the Dominion Bracelet, Uthros Researchcraft, and Academy Ruins. You then cast Aeon Engine again, the artifact copy you're targeting it, the Dominion Bracelet, Uthros Researchcraft, and then crew it almost to full with the Metalwork Colossus, untap one of the Aeon Engines with the previously grabbed Manifold Key, pick it up and recast it to untap the other Aeon Engine while also drawing a card from the Spacecraft, which will be the Academy Ruins, which can be your land drop. And then you're set up. With this, 2 opponents now never get another turn of Magic the Gathering, and the last remaining opponent, the one to your left, is permanently mind-slavered by a Metalwork Colossus wielding the Dominion Bracelet. This is far from a rigid game plan too, by the way, much like real Doomsday. You can easily weave in other artifacts like Stasis Coffin for the first pile if that opponent you're going to pass to for the first Aeon Engine swap is threatening you with a lethal board. Or if you already have a way to draw a card into your hand, you can put a counterspell in your Doomsday pile for added protection. Also, drawing any of those previously mentioned cards before makes assembling the pile more efficient. I feel like what I like about this combo is that I can still just use the Aeon Engine early as a funny play. I can still just use the Dominion Bracelet with a Metalwork Colossus as well early. I can do all of these fun things without having to sandbag them like you would normally do for a combo card, because the mirror grabs them from exile if it's going to be a combo win game. Also, unlike poor Tekethal, if I ever get sick of this combo line, I can easily swap out the mirror or whatever pieces for things like Simulacrum Synthesizer or Nettlesys for a more mid-range game plan. Wacky artifacts is a lot more of a broad theme than the parasitic one of charge counters. I don't want to make it sound like this deck is all in on its combo either. Should the mirror plane get disrupted, it doesn't mean I lose. With a charged up elevator, I can still kill you with Blue Sun Zenith. The deck also packs Leyline Axe to turn Metalwork Colossus or a fully charged Uthros Researchcraft into a turbo-lethal threat. Mentioning the Researchcraft again, I see that I've failed to mention all the value engines the deck runs besides the Transit Mage loop, so let's get into that a little bit. Thought Monitor is one of those engines, since Drafna can pick him up to be recast, turning his first activated ability into Divination, or even Quick Study with a Flash Enabler. Emery, in a similar way, can work alongside an artifact sack outlet like Phyrexia's Core, Scrapyard Recombiner, or Smelting Vat alongside that Thought Monitor. Scrapyard Recombiner can even find the Thought Monitor, which, yes, is a construct, not a Thopter, to start the loop, or it can grab Metalwork Colossus for other synergies like the previously mentioned Smelting Vat. With that Smelting Vat, you can sacrifice Colossus and look at the top 8 cards of your library for 2 non-creature artifacts with a combined mana value of 11 or less, which is every combination of non-creature artifacts possible in the deck. So you can get any 2. With Sai, Forensic Gadgeteer, or a Slagstone Refinery laying around, you can then easily retrieve the Metalwork Colossus from your graveyard to then spin it again next turn. There was actually an earlier build of this deck that was built around copying Scuttling Doom Engine and sacking it like this repeatedly to nuke people while refilling my hand with cards. Also, I think this could be the best Time Sifter deck ever, but I think we've officially hit too weird with that card, despite the exiling working with Mirror to take infinite turns. If you enjoy infinite turns too, you can also run Ugin's Nexus to do that with Drafna, but I decided to exclude it though, because it felt too easy for my evil sadistic self. That does it though. What do you think of the deck? Do you have a funny combo deck? And if so, what are the alternate lines you include to stop you from getting turned into a flopping fish when it gets countered? Let me know down in the comments below, and until next time, bye!